So the truth is, I'm still trying to remember a lot of the things that have happened to me. And before I really dive in, I want to share some intentions, okay? First off, I want to honor and thank everybody that has come out and told their stories. I want to honor and thank Brian, all the other whistleblowers, all the other SSP experiencers, all the people that have died, that have gone missing in the mission to bring liberation and truth to humanity. So I am dedicating this to the cause. I'm dedicating this to all those that may be lost in their confusion and in their suffering, and hope that this shines a light for people to find their way to truth and to bring calm, courage, ease, and grace in their transformation and realizing what has really taken place on this planet. So in no way am I here to tell a lie. Everything that I'm going to share is true. I'm not delusional. I'm not stupid. And I'm not here to prove myself to anybody. Everything that I'm going to share today took 6 years to piece together. I'm here to share my experiences in hopes that it helps others who are suffering from targeting. Some key factors where I grew up. I grew up in Los Angeles, which we all know that is a huge nexus point with Hollywood and all that stuff. My family, I'm going to get into that as we progress. I'm going to talk about some of the trauma that I went through. And I was in school, I was in a talented and gifted program, which we have all been here for about a week listening to a lot of other people's story. We know that a common thread between everybody who was abducted in military programs were tagged in the talented and gifted program. This was a program that I was in, and a meth addiction that I started at age 14. So imagine a little 14-year-old child running around the streets of Los Angeles hooked up on meth for 3-4 years. Some more factors. Grandfather was in the military. My mother was adopted. One of my mother's best friends growing up was a Rothschild, so that's a lot. There's going to be a lot of things that I'm not going to really dive into because it's just going to take up way too much time. But please keep in mind everything that you've heard throughout this week, all of the other stories. Keep all of that in mind. I'm relying and utilizing the other stories that you've heard to cut fat and me not trying to educate you on things. So mother grew up best friends with a Rothschild. Targeting for me and abducting for me began at age 2 years old because this does not start with me. This is about my family. My whole family has been targeted. Bloody noses and waking up outside. My whole life growing up, I would experience intense, profuse bloody noses after coming back from a very severe trance from daydreaming. And there was a period in my life where I was waking up outside of my apartment in the middle of the night. And that's something that I forgot happened to me until about a few months ago. You can ask my fiance, where I was just like, oh my God, I just remembered that there was a period where I was waking up outside in the middle of the night, and she was present with me to confirm with my mother, hey, do you remember? And she was like, yes, but I don't want to talk about it. Because she also was a meth addict during those years. So, grandfather was in the military. He was a weird man that would never really talk about his military experiences other than he was stationed in Germany with Elvis. I've shared this with a lot of other people who have had a grandfather in the army stationed in Germany with Elvis. And so with everything that we're learning about what's really happening, it makes me wonder and pose the question, could that potentially be a screen memory? What a happy memory to put in a man's mind to not question their experience in the military. I've come across too many people that were in the army with Elvis. His parents migrated from Poland from World War II, and I personally suspect that his whole life has been part of experimenting and surveillance that led it into my mother, who they adopted. And that Rothschild best friend was born the day after or the day before my mom. So there's really interesting things behind all of that, if you catch my drift. So here's my mom. That's her right there. That's how she looks today. She has been through a lot. So I believe my mother is part of genetic hybrid experiments. She grew up with 3 other girls born within a week of each other. One of them was born the day before or day after. She was a Rothschild. My mother would spend many nights and weekends at the Rothschild's home, riding horses and doing fun things, but can't remember the father, who was like a big-time mayor judge of Los Angeles. And this Rothschild piece of information is something that I didn't know until a few years ago. And it blew me away, and I did a lot of digging into that. But again, I'm not going to spend all that time explaining to you because you can connect the dots. I had my mother's DNA analyzed, and it turns out I'm related to Nicholas Copernicus, Queen Victoria, and Napoleon Bonaparte. And there were some others in there, but I chose these 3 to share because Nicholas Copernicus is the same birthday as my mother, February 19th. And Queen Victoria has the same birthday as me, May 24th. And Napoleon Bonaparte has the same birthday as my father, so I just like this thread going on here. So, obviously these are people who carry elite DNAs. Some of us will call them blue bloods. There's little old me, about the age 5 years old, born May 24th, 1990. You can't tell here, but this was right around the time where some of the most intense targeting began for me. There you go. Thanks, bro. Okay, so I'm just going to share this quick little thing that happened to me when I was 16 years old in 2006. So I remember I was a meth addict from 14 to 17 years old. And being in Los Angeles as a street kid, high on meth, there was a time where I was with some friends. It was about 10 a.m. and this whole scene broke down in front of us where one cop car there weren't cop cars, but one car got cut off by another car and they pulled off to the road in front of us. And they acted out this whole scene where driver number 1 comes out and pulls out driver number 2, and he's saying, "You're drunk, you can't drive home right now, what are you doing? I'm get into my car." So he's dragging him to his car, and the guy who's drunk is like, "Oh, but my cigarettes and my keys are in the car." And the friends that I'm with are like, and so the guy puts him in the car and they drive off. And we witnessed this scene took place right in front of us in the middle of nowhere of Los Angeles. And so the friends that I were with, they were really intrigued. They wanted to go into that abandoned car where they knew keys were in there. There were cardboard boxes stacked up inside. And they wanted to score some cigarettes. And they were like, let's go fucking for a joyride. And I was like, this is a little too suspicious. You guys go. So they went across the street. And not a minute of them being in the car, cops swarmed from every direction. And I watched those 2 guys get beat up, handcuffed, and immediately into the school to prison pipeline. So where Alex said there are a lot of timelines where I was not alive, where I died. So I evaded the timeline where I would have been hooked and booked into the school to prison pipeline. With the criminal background of auto theft, robbery, and that sort of stuff. So we're gonna go more into other experiences of just how crazy targeting has been in my life. So before I've come to this point of where I am now, fully aware of what's happening and things happen to me, I was just a regular dude, very athletic, always outdoor, passionate cyclist, always on a bicycle. I was a bodybuilder, bold, brave, arrogant, naive. And that's me on top of a mountain just flexing, because that's what you do when you're a young man. So, however, all my life I always felt a hidden hand in my life. Invisible enemies. I was always paranoid, like oddly paranoid for a child. And I've always had deep skepticism about the world and religion and things like that. And having experiences like, undercover policemen trying to bait me into stealing a car or going to jail. I just didn't trust anybody. So I just wanted to share some pictures of me before things started happening to me. Again, this is a passionate bicycle. So for years, you'd always see me carrying a backpack with about 100, 120 pounds, 2 pannier bags on my bike with an equal amount of weight, with just any gear that I could imagine I might potentially need. So I was always cycling, always lifting weights, always climbing, very athletic, an unstoppable machine. Like I would ride 100 miles in one day, power lift weights, climb a mountain, and do it again. So yeah, look, this is just a dude doing dude things, flexing, going to concerts, drinking beer. Nothing abnormal, you know what I mean? Until shit started happening. So there came a point where I started to recall missing time during field trips. Who's familiar with this image here? Do any of you guys know what image this is? What is it? Yeah, it's the Getty Museum. So at some point I started to recall that there were certain field trips that I have gone through and have had missing time. The Getty Museum being one of them, the Los Angeles Zoo, the Los Angeles Children's Museum of Science, and a California Spanish Mission Museum. So here's the Los Angeles Zoo. So this is a part of the Los Angeles Zoo that they call the lair, where the living amphibians, invertebrates, and reptiles are. And so during this field trip, I was with my class in the lair with all the reptiles and amphibians, and I caught the gaze of a tarantula spider. And I remember I just stood there staring into this spider and becoming so hyper-focused and aware of like every detail of that spider. And for what felt like maybe 20, 30 seconds, I walk away, everyone is gone. The whole class is gone. I didn't hear anybody, they were all gone. And then when I leave the building, I look around and there's nobody in sight outside. So I was like, where the hell did they all go? I was around 12 years old when this happened. And so I just began walking throughout the zoo until a teacher found me and was like, where the hell have you been? We've all been looking for you for a long time. So, in all these field trips that I've been through, the missing time situation was exactly like this. Something caught my gaze, I stared intensely into it. Next thing I know, a lot of time has passed and I don't know what happened. So I'm gonna get into some dreams. First off, I dreamt about COVID exactly 1 year before it happened. I'm going to bring that dream back up later on. And also, right now I'm going to talk about some reoccurring dreams that I had throughout the ages of 5 and 6 years old, and a dream about being told I was Arcturian. And I'm not going to talk about this dream, but I want to mention it because I'm going to keep shamelessly plugging in my podcast. A dream about Leonardo DiCaprio. If you really want to get your mind blown about dreams and what they're doing and hijacking dreams, and manipulating people, go to my YouTube channel, Unscripted Liberation Codes, and find the video that's titled Dreams Leonardo DiCaprio. So, I'm going to just talk about one of the recurring dreams that I had. And this is how it was. Every night I was falling asleep, and in the dream I'm a detective, and I have like a cool little trench hat and a little trench coat. And I had an ability, and the ability that I had was I could levitate 3, 4, 5 feet above the ground, and I could move really fast. And every time I had this dream, I was arriving to a murder scene. So there would be a murder scene where a body would be on the ground, contorted into a weird shape, and the head would be severed. And in replacement of the head would be an old Etch-a-Sketch toy. You know those toys where you turn the dial and you pull up the magnets and you can draw images on that? So there would be a weird pattern, an unrecognizable pattern drawn into the Etch-a-Sketch toy, replacing the head. So I kept on having this dream. It wasn't the same one. It was just every time I had the dream, I was arriving to a different murder scene. And I was trying to solve the mystery. I was trying to solve the puzzle and find out who was doing these murders. The very last time this dream happened, all around the same age, I wake up in my bedroom. This is the dream. I wake up in my bedroom, and I go out into the kitchen, and above the kitchen table, this black portal opens, and this demonic entity comes crawling through the portal, and he was all black as these tablecloths, with a white porcelain face. And then suddenly a dead body appeared, and there was a dead body in my living room, my kitchen floor, with the Etch-a-Sketch toy that he was working on the design. And I can't really remember exactly what happened. I think I solved it, because that was the last time I had those dreams. So I posed the question, are these normal dreams for a 5-year-old to have? So from 2013 to 2018, a series of different crises happened. In 2013, I was 23 years old. I was hit by motor vehicles while riding a bicycle on 3 separate occasions. 2016, I was 26 years old. I had a very intense and massive stroke. And then in 2018, I discovered 2 brain tumors. So 2013, March 22nd, on the spring equinox, was the first car that hit me on my left side. I was T-boned really hard. And the person that hit me, her name was Alejandra. And as I mentioned before, my full name is Alex Mara Mijares. So interesting connection there with somebody hitting me named Alex. Second car that hit me was September 2nd, and their name was Jose. And my father's name is Jose. Third person that hit me on the fall equinox, September 20th, was a woman named Diana. So these 3 cars all hit me on my left side, causing damage to my spine, to my head, to my hips. The third one was the weird one because it broke the pattern. So I'm a hypnotherapist, and if you know about hypnosis and patterns and how to get someone induced into the hypnotic state, the third one disrupted the pattern, because that's what I was expecting. If there was going to be a third one, that the name would be another correlation within my life, but it wasn't. So when the third car hit me, it put me into a very prolonged, chronic state of psychosis. What happened? What's going on? Why is there no pattern? I can't solve this. I'm confused. What is going on? So the third one was a huge trip, and I'm going to come back again to this third accident. Oh, go back real quick. So this drawing is a demonic entity that I channeled. I'm not going to tell the story behind it, but I just wanted to share this art. So this is a sacral chakra vampiric energy that feeds off of people's energy that has been summoned through satanic ritual abuse. So in 2014, a being told me I was Arcturian before I even heard the word Arcturian. Never heard the word in my life. You saw the photos of me before, just a dude lifting weights, drinking beer, going to concerts, and didn't know nothing about the starseed stuff. So a being came to me in a dream and was like, he was at a distance, and it was like intense, like up close, far away, and he just kept saying, "You're Arcturian, you're from Arcturus, you're Arcturian, you're from Arcturus." And then he said, "Get ready, because 2 years from now, the world as you understand it is going to change, and it's going to keep changing in 2-year increments." So that was 2014. 2016, Trump became president, and you can see the 2-year pattern of that we're in. So it was a message about how on 1 year, we're going to move forward 2 steps, and then on the following year, we're going to take 1 step back, and then the year after that, we'll take another 2 steps. So that's the message he gave me of the type of evolutionary process we're in. We'll have 1 intense, crazy advanced year, and then it'll kind of recess a little bit, and then we'll go forward again. So 2016, a year of shock, activations, near-death experience, pain, and confusion. This was a picture that I took a few months before I had a stroke, because I just knew I was in for a ride that year. October 10, 2016, the day that I call 1010. I had a very intense stroke that felt induced by some type of frequencies that hitting me in the spine. What I experienced in 2016 was much like the episode on the show 60 Minutes, recently aired on frequency weapons targeting agents and political officials. And so I'm going to show you a clip from this episode. You've seen that episode, so you know what I'm talking about.
Irresponsible. Most of the injured have fought for America, often in secret, and they're frustrated that the U.S. government publicly doubts that an adversary is targeting Americans. One of them is Carrie. We're disguising her and not using her last name because she's still an FBI agent working in counterintelligence. She says in 2021, she was home in Florida when she was hit by a crippling force.
And bam, inside my right ear, it was like a dentist drilling on steroids. That feeling when it gets too close to your eardrum, it's like that, times 10. It was like a high-pitched metallic drilling noise, and it knocked me forward at like a 45-degree angle this way.
She says she was by a window in her laundry room.
My right ear was line of sight to that window while this thing was happening in my ear. And when I leaned forward, it didn't knock me over, but it knocked me forward. I immediately felt pressure, and pressure and pain started coursing from inside my right ear, down my jaw, down my neck, and into my chest.
At the same time,
So what she just described was literally exactly what happened when I had a stroke. I'm not going to cut a lot of details again, but I was in my kitchen with my back to my window, getting ready to make something to eat, and as I was raising my arm, getting ready to open the cover, I felt a zap hit me in my back, and this painful energy moved throughout my entire body. And just how she said, just exactly how she described it, I fell 45 degrees to the right. And then my body, the energy that was moving through my body, I collapsed and my hands contorted, and it was just pain moving up and down this channel of my body. And I could only see just a very narrow tunnel vision, and that this was the stroke experience that I was going through. And my roommates saw me there. They called the paramedics. Paramedics came, had a near-death experience, and my near-death experience was not like this epic tale where I was shown all these things and given this mission. What happened when I came back was more like a very intense DMT trip where I couldn't really see with my eyes open. All I could see was how the sound around me was pushing matter and frequencies to form resonance. So it was some type of interesting activation that happened. And that was another drawing that I channeled. So, 2018, the MRI that revealed 2 brain tumors, the slow death kill. So not only was I misdiagnosed for 2 years, so I had a stroke, right? This thing happened. And I go to the hospital, and I'm starting to see neurologists and all these other doctors. And they just said, oh, you're bipolar. You're bipolar, you got traumatic brain injuries from getting hit by cars, and maybe you're on the schizophrenic thing, but we don't know. Here's some medications. And I'm like, I had a stroke, don't you think you should scan my brain or maybe give me some blood tests or something? They're like, no, you're bipolar, here's these meds. So, yeah. So for 2 whole years, misdiagnosed and being on a cocktail of different medications that were making me worse. So I wasn't getting better, and at some point I learned how to advocate for myself, and I said the magic words, and the doctor was like, oh, we'll give you an MRI. And so the MRI revealed 2 brain tumors. One of them, I don't understand, and all the doctors I talked to don't understand, but it comes up on the MRI as some anomaly at the base of my spine where it connects to the skull, where it comes up as like granulated crystals that come up as a tumor there. The only thing that they could tell me about that was don't eat too much chocolate. The second brain tumor, though, was very intense, which was right here on my pituitary gland. And what that tumor was doing was it was hijacking my entire endocrine system. And it stopped my body's, I'm better now, so this stuff is not applied to the here and now. But back then, it stopped my body's ability to produce testosterone. And my body was overproducing a feminine type hormone called prolactin. Everybody has it, but prolactin is only ever supposed to increase as if you are a biological female body giving birth, having a baby, because that's the hormone that's what creates the milk, the lactate, to feed the child. So when I was, for 2 years being misdiagnosed and all of this crazy things with my hormones were going on and being given the wrong medications, my body began to change. From all the lifting, the pecs that I worked on so hard turned into man-tits, and my behavior changed. I was almost going through like an involuntary sex change, which is funny because, Alex Jones, I don't know if you guys seen that episode where he's all like, they're turning the frogs gay. I did a little video on that too, but it's funny. Anyways, so that was happening to me. Go forward. So during those years, I began to channel a series of art portraits that I call monadic art. And I'm going to show you one of them that we're going to break down. So this is an art portrait that I channeled and began to do December of 2017. So still before I knew that I had a stroke. So, I mean, before I knew I had brain tumors. It happened after the stroke. So normally when I am getting ready to do a portrait like this, I had to set the stage, set the space, put the paper down. I never really know what I'm going to draw. I just trance out and stare at the blank paper, and then the first thing that comes up, I start drawing. So this was the first thing that came up right here. So I want you to just take in what you're seeing. You see, he's in an all white room, and there's a man sitting on a chair, and I want you to take in this specific detail of how the base of the chair is drawn. What you're looking at here is a screen, and behind the screen is binary code of ones and zeros, and there's the Luciferian all-seeing eye. And all these lines and squiggles and colors are frequencies that are being projected on the individual sitting on the chair. And so these two images come from a book called MK Ultra, and it carries a lot of images and explanations and patterns of how MK Ultra project is used. So you see this individual sitting in the chair, and you see the base of this cable. Go back to the other one. So do you see the similarities on what I channeled here? Just little details, you know, that are not exactly the same, but they transferred over. Go back forward again, and you see this one here, how the room is drawn. You know, it's not a complete room, it's a half-drawn room, and it's all blank, and there's a screen, and there's the computer, and there's the man. So before I knew about this shit, I channeled this drawing of being sat down on what is called the trip chair. So you guys have been here all week. How many times have you heard the word trip chair? Many times. You understand what that is, right? It is a chair that you sit down on, being hooked up to all sorts of electrodes and computers where you are programmed. You are MK Ultra programmed. And it's in the trip chair where they can wipe your memory, they can give you screen memories, and they can do a lot of things to your brain. They've mastered mapping out the brain and how to manipulate it. Next one. So this is the book, Project MK Ultra and Mind Control Technology, and I just wanted to show it to you and name off some of the titles: Artificial Telepathy, Behavior Modification, Mind Manipulation. So this book breaks down everything that is within the MK Ultra project. So going back to the dream that I had in January of 2019, I dreamt about COVID exactly 1 year before it occurred. And I have some friends here, so you know, a lot of you guys have already heard me tell the story of this dream, but there's some of you that were just meeting for the first time. So in the dream, the way that this dream happened was I was being dropped into a post-apocalyptic timeline. As I was being dropped, the upload of what was happening was being put into my mind. And the upload was, this is a post-apocalyptic timeline due to a controlled virus and a controlled vaccine and an agenda not working, which eventually led to the downfall of civilization. Banks, government, corporations, military functions, society, everything crumbled. So, next slide. So in the dream, I'm surviving with just a tribe of people because this is what we were doing. There's no power, there's no internet. People, like-minded people, were just coming together and just going back to the good old days. So, next slide. So in the dream, the commune that I was in, there was a barn. And so at night, we partied in the barn because we didn't want people to find us with fires. So we had a fire in the barn, and I was the only one sitting by the fire while everybody was dancing, and I was just in a trance. And while I was looking into the fire, I received a clear message, and the message was, you need to leave right now on a solo quest to go retrieve a magical item. You'll know what it is when you find it. Loud and clear, I'm on my way. So, in the dream, I'm getting ready to leave the premises, to leave our campus, our campground. And as I'm reaching the barricades that we had built, this was one of the most lucid part that I remember in the dream. But I'm walking, and then I look, and I'm like, oh, that makes sense. And what I was looking at was a massive, massive wall of thousands and thousands of bicycles stacked up on top of each other. And I remember having the thought, oh, that makes sense. Like, imagine climbing that. Imagine trying to pull that apart. You break a finger, you break a leg or something. So I had to crawl through the wall of fences. And while I was crawling through through the fences of bicycles, I look at my body and see that I was covered in black widow spiders. And instead of panicking from the black widow spiders, I closed my eyes, I took a deep breath in, and then on the exhale, I suddenly dropped into a deeper state within the dream where I was not in that experience, and I was in this like etheric astral void that was all black, and there was this entity that was approaching me. And as it was getting closer, it was forming kaleidoscopic geometric patterns of a spider and a spider web. And so I had a mind meld experience with this spider being, and she told me that she was a great grandmother spider and that she has a message for me. And the message was, you need to start activating your telepathic abilities. You need to start activating how to tune everything out and go within and communicate with your higher self and with your guides, because you are moving into a timeline in your world where there is going to be much chaos, much disruption. And if you are making judgments based off of what is happening in your external environment, it could potentially lead you to your death. So what she said was, you have to learn how to go within and trust your own guidance no matter what is happening, no matter what people are telling you. And so then the connection of the dream broke, and I was back in that original space, and I was on the other side of the barricade of bicycles. And I continue on with the mission, and I find the magical item. The magical item was just some cliche staff in the ground, right? So I was like, okay, this must be it. And I run back to my camp. And when I run back to my camp, the crazies, so in this timeline, the people who took the vaccine lost their humanity and became insane. So we called them the crazies in the dream. So the crazies found out where we had been camping, and they started destroying and killing. And in the sight of seeing all of my loved ones being murdered and massacred, I'm screaming, no. And as I'm screaming, no, my hands on their own were doing this, and I went like that, and that entire experience went, phew, like when you turn off an old TV with the static, it just went, phew. And it turns out I was actually sitting on a chair on a spaceship, and I was hooked up to this type of device, and there were these beings there. I couldn't see the being, but I could sense them, and they were really big and they were really tall. And basically, they just said, congratulations, you did well. We wanted to see how you will respond and what was inside of you. We're sending you back. So they sent me back, and I woke up, and it was like maybe 5 in the morning. And I sort of used, anybody who's followed me long for many years on Facebook, you see that I'm always posting my dreams. So I like using Facebook as a dream journal because it does that. 1 year ago, you posted this. 2 years ago, you posted that. So I posted it all on Facebook. And then going into 2020, January, so I had that dream January 2019, and going into January 2020, Wuhan, China, COVID, and then Facebook. A year ago, you wrote this about pandemic, control virus, and I was like, oh shit, it's happening. So brief timeline of the things that were occurring in 2020. So towards the end of 2019, I went to my first conference, just like this. I went to Dimensions of Disclosure, with my bro here. I met Aurora there, I met Nora, I met Matthew there. I met a lot of folks there, and we've just been friends ever since then, supporting each other, watching each other grow over the years, going through transformations, encouraging people to start their businesses and take those leaps of faith. So I love you guys. So I was freeing myself from a lot of programs that I didn't know were there. And this was before I was putting the connections and like, maybe I'm also a part of this too. So voice and scroll technology was kicking my ass in the beginning of 2020. It was just constant, kill yourself, kill yourself, kill yourself. You're worthless, and just invasive thoughts. And I'm about a few months into treatment with the brain tumors, and I was prescribed a medication that literally had on the description bottle for side effects, may experience unusual urges and rage. Yeah. So, I was going through some fucking intense shit. February, my aunt passes away. March, lockdowns begin. April, the intensity increases. May, the sacrifice of George Floyd. June, I left everything, bought a van, and started traveling to the country, going to Arkansas, and just doing a bunch of cool fun shit. Next. So there's me in my van, little old ladybug. I miss it. I lived in it. I traveled the country, and basically, I stopped taking all my medications and was like, you know what, I'm just going to smoke weed in the van down by the river, hugging trees, and I'm going to heal myself that way, which I did. Next slide. So 2021 was the year of prophecies, ceremonies, and revelations. So moving forward, we're going to get into the movie Space Jam and how that re-entered my life. We're going to get into South Dakota and how that dream of COVID led me to South Dakota. And so 2021 was the year I got to experience some very powerful sacred plant medicines, such as bufo, cambo, peyote, San Pedro, lots of mushrooms. And I just want to let you guys know that I didn't go after these things. I didn't chase this medicine. I didn't say, oh, I want to go to the woods and have ayahuasca and all this stuff. They just synchronistically occurred. I met the right people that lined me up, and it happened. And for most of these things, I didn't even have to pay for it. So the bufo experience, I went to this retreat, and it was a week-long retreat, and I didn't know while I was at that retreat that we were going to go do a bufo ceremony. So for a whole week, we're doing yoga, we're fasting, we're on a vegan diet, we're juicing, we're doing the breath of fire, kundalini, and smelling our farts and talking about how awesome we are. And the facilitators of the retreat were just like, set your intention, set your intention, set your intention. And at this point, my intentions was just the whole week doing all this clearing, right? It was like, is this shit real? Is this shit real, or am I crazy? Was I really in these programs? Did these things really happen to me in the way that I think they are? Or am I just having a real hard time processing my childhood trauma? Am I escaping into another fantasy? Because if I am, I will drop this shit right now and focus on living a normal, structured life. But if I really am a part of this, then I will go through it. I will do the work. I will heal. I want to know. But not knowing is fucking driving me nuts. So that was my intention. And then we did two days back to back of bufo, which is a very, very intense, powerful sacred medicine. And it was about a few days after the bufo ceremony where my guides gave me a clear message. My guide said, go to YouTube and pull up the scene from the movie Space Jam when Michael Jordan meets Bugs Bunny. Some of you guys have seen this already on the channel, but I was like, that is a very clear thing to look up. Okay, I don't know what is going on here, but I'm going to look that up. And so I did, and we're going to watch a clip from this scene here. And again, remember everything you've learned this week. See with discerning eyes. All of
What kind of camera is that?
It's just
You have to close the lens down.
Where'd he go?
Look out for that boy stepdog. It's a real Lulu.
Bugs Bunny,
You were expecting maybe the Easter Bunny?
your cartoon not real.
Not really. If I were real, could I do this? Is that Michael? Michael! It's in the children. I came out the door. The first rule, Mr. Jordan, can I have your other your China please? What the doctor said? Oh, hi. So what lay down. So, what do you say we go for a little spin? Now let's see what we got inside here. You ready? Say on. Alright. He's okay.
What's going on here?
Why, Michael? I thought you never ate. You see, these aliens come from outer space and they want to make us slaves in their theme park. Well, what do we do? They're little, so we challenge them to a basketball game. But then they show up and they ain't so little. They're huge. We need to beat these guys, because they're talking about slavery. They're on this with stand-up comedy. The same jokes every night for all eternity. We're gonna be locked up like wild animals and then trot out to perform for a bunch of lowbrow, bugger-headed, fan-headed, Eurochallenge aliens. What I'm trying to say is, we need your help!
Sorry, I didn't know that.
So that scene is just 3 minutes, and that entire scene is telling you everything. First off, it takes place at a golf course where elite people play golf at. It's a resort. And we know a lot of things that happen at these resorts with people with money, people in power. There's trafficking, there's children. And so there's Michael Jordan, an all-star American black athlete right there, with 3 white men, one of them very tall, one of them with an umbrella on his hat, Umbrella Corporation, the other one with a camera, who in this movie is his agent, his handler, getting ready to take a picture of him as in, I got you doing dirty things, and then he gets pulled into the rabbit hole going through his initiation, and going through the rabbit hole, he enters this other dimension that is overwhelming. He's now in the hypnotic state. His brain is being fractured, being open. He can't distinguish what is real, what is not real. And here are the cartoons. And then here comes Daffy Duck, dressed as a mad scientist. And out of all of the things that they could have put in Michael Jordan's ear was a paperclip. So what are some of the things you learned at this conference that has the name paperclip on it? Operation Paperclip. So Daffy Duck is playing a role as a crazy Nazi German scientist, and that's what they're telling you there. Even Bugs Bunny goes, yodeling hiku, which Germans and Swiss, that's what they do, they yodel. So they're telling you everything right there. And then he says, you are A-OK, and stamps him in the head. You are this individual, we have analyzed him, and we think we can spend the money to make him into a super soldier. So then Michael Jordan is like, what is this all about? So then Bugs Bunny gives him the sales pitch, right? So you have to think about that part with Bugs Bunny as a military recruitment video, like if the Army would do something cool, like save your country, blah, 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 but advertised for children that are gifted, talented, and psychic. So, I went through this Bufo experience, right? Is this shit real? Am I fucking crazy? Was I involved in it? And then after the ceremony, my guide said, go to YouTube, watch this. And that was all I needed to be like, okay, all right, we're game. We're in this. I'm doing this work. We're here. This happened. Another movie that shows a very clear scene of what they do, of how they program you, is a scene in the movie Clockwork Orange. We're not going to watch that, but towards the end of the movie, this character, he's strapped to a chair. They have his eyes open. There's a doctor continuously putting eye drops in his eye, and he's watching this scene, and there's audios in there, and he's being programmed. So that's another clip of showing you how they program you in the trip chair. So going back, remember my art that I channeled before I even knew what the fuck the trip chair was. My subconscious mind was already trying to help me remember. Next. So the summer of 2021, still the year of prophecies, ceremonies, revelations. Who knows what this is? It's a geographic map. So this is the Black Hills in South Dakota. Are any of you familiar with the Black Hills in South Dakota? It's very, very sacred indigenous territory. And the Lakota people consider the Black Hills as the heart of the world. And you can see that it's even outlined as a real anatomical heart. So 2021, I made my way to South Dakota under some very weird mystical mission, closing out some old soul contracts. I'm not going to get into the details of that story. Next one. So I'm in South Dakota, and I'm with somebody. And I'm with somebody, and it's a full-blooded Lakota indigenous woman. And she's showing me through the Black Hills through the eyes of an indigenous Dakota person. And we go to the lands of where she grew up going to summer camp. And we're walking the premises and I'm like, this feels familiar. If there's a barn over there, this is where I was in that dream. Sure as shit, a moment later, she showed me the barn. So of course, I had to tell her the dream. And she's like, okay, I got something to show you. So we hop into my car, she's driving, and then she's like, look. So I arrived to a place in time and space that I did not know existed and dreamt about before, where I encountered an entity that identified herself as Grandmother Spider Woman, which also I didn't know that the indigenous had a Grandmother Spider deity. So I reached this point, and at this point, I just fully surrendered. It was like, what the fuck? You know, after everything that I've been through, right? The drugs, the targeting, the cars, the stroke, the tumors. What the fuck is this? What's going on? How did I get here? And then a moment later, my star family came to me in my mind, and I call them my council of higher selves. And basically they're just like, congratulations, you fucking did it, dude. Despite everything, you followed your wisdom, you followed the synchronicities, you used your discernment in distinguishing what is a trap and what is true, all the way to the point of arriving in the middle of fucking nowhere, South Dakota, to reach this point in time and space. You did it. You're learning. And we're sorry. We're sorry for everything that you've had to go through. But you are one arrogant, cocky son of a bitch. You don't listen. And you're always crying, always whining, always the victim. And so we had to play with your heart. We had to play with your emotions. We had to set you up with these people that were just going to fucking hurt you. So you can learn what it really means to be a master. And now that you're here, you're fully responsible for your life. There's no more of this, oh, these entities came in through my back door, and that's why my life is in sabotage. It's all on you now. So I was like, that sounds scary. And they're like, well, we wouldn't have brought you here if you couldn't do it. And so these are the bicycles, just like how they were in my dream. Exactly. So, targeting. We're going to talk about some more targeting. A man named Kevin Perelman. We talked about a trip to Washington and the school to prison pipeline. We already talked about that one. And then the third car. We're going to come back to the third car. So, this fucking guy named Kevin Perelman, all right, some questions. Is he legit or is he a honeypot? But if he's legit, then why isn't he here with us? Why isn't he plugged in our network? Why go to all this trouble to be seen by me, but nowhere to be found publicly, like right here? Bottom line, my gut tells me stay away from him. So Kevin Perelman, you see these two business cards here, right? It says www.kevinperelmantarget.com. Worldwide campaign to remove me from society since childhood. For detailed situations, there's his website. And there's another business card. So these two business cards came across my path on two separate occasions. The one on the top, right? The one on the top is going back to 2021. That year, I became a caretaker for my grandfather and my mother. They were both disabled. And so I routinely made trips to Rite Aid to pick up prescriptions. And on this one particular day, there was a long line, and I was disassociating, and behind me was an end cap of the aisle, and this thought came into my mind that says, turn around, look behind you, there's something there. So I turned around and I looked behind me, and what was there was this business card. So I was like, what the fuck? You know, what the hell's going on? I remember, and the moment I found it, I took a picture and sent it to him. I was like, bro, what the hell? But there was something there that was like, I don't know. So I just pocketed it and then forgot about it. And then it was like a month later, I went to South Dakota. The second business card occurred, I don't remember if it was 2021 or 2022, but long story short, I'm at a Chinese restaurant, just some shitty hole-in-the-wall Chinese place, and I'm eating beef broccoli. And this car drives into the parking lot, and the car stops in front of my van, and I see the man in there just throw a handful of business cards outside of his window at my van. And I was like, what the hell? So I tried to get out to see who the person was, because on the car he had, "Are you a targeted individual?" on the side of his car. And I think Matthew and Nora may have seen him back in California back in the day. So I go out there, and there it is, a pile of these cards, just a pile of them right there, my business cards. This dude really wanted me to contact him. Really, it was a honeypot situation. I don't know if you guys listened to Drago Reed's talk, but he was talking about in 2015 there was some sort of activation that triggered a lot of people to start remembering. And so then a year later, someone came out on the main stage talking about the secret space program, and then a lot of the people came towards that direction, and that was a way to check on who's remembering. So I believe that this Kevin Perelman is sort of the same situation. I never contacted him, I've been to his website, maybe he's legit, maybe he's real, but my instincts, my guts tell me hell no. At some point in time, going into 2022, I randomly thought, maybe this guy has an Instagram. Maybe I can scope him out on an Instagram, and maybe he's legit. And I noticed the last post was May 24, 2021, my birthday. This was the last post of on this Instagram page of him. And it's a photo of the album cover of Saturday Night Fever with John Travolta like this. So there's some MK Ultra triggering stuff behind this photo. Go to the next. So that was my birthday, May 24, 2021. During that time, on my birthday, I took a trip over to Washington to visit my friend for my birthday. So who's familiar with the state of Washington? Okay, so you guys know the Olympic National Forests and all that in the peninsula. So I go to Washington, and tell me, do you see the dragon? Do you know the story of the dragon in Washington? Go to the next one. So this is off the peninsula, and this is the only Native American folklore story that includes a dragon, and it's actually a love story between a dragon and a human person. So this is a dragon. Here's the wings. That's part of the forest. There's the head. There's the two arms. There's the penis and the legs, and there's the tail, right? So I made my way up there for my birthday to go visit the homie. Go to the next one. So for like 2 nights, I stay at this resort hotel, right? And this was the view outside of my window was this marina. And so it's my birthday, okay? I'm in this nice hotel. And I said, fuck it, I'm gonna take some mushrooms and just chill, because like my life's been hard. It's my birthday, so go to the next one. So I took 2 grams of mushrooms, which is not a lot, all right? All right, I know how to handle my shit. 2 grams of mushrooms is not a lot of mushrooms. So I take the mushrooms, and as they started to kick in, I get this real uneasy feeling. And I'm like, okay, this doesn't make sense, because this is not what I want to feel. So I began pacing in the hotel room, just like, what is this? What is this? Why am I feeling like this? This isn't right. What's going on? I don't understand. And then about a few minutes of doing that, my hands move towards the window, which is the view of the marina with all the boats. And I see 2 people walking, and I'm like, they're watching me. I'm being monitored. I'm being talked about. They're watching me. There's somebody in the boat that's also a watchman for the peninsula. Oh my God, there's human trafficking, the National Forest, children. And like everything was clicking of where I was and what was happening. And then when I made all the connections, so first off, I was like, okay, people are watching me, they're targeting me, they're talking about me, there's communications actively going on, and I'm picking up on the frequencies, I know what's happening. And then when I reached that point, then this dark energy came in through the window, whoosh, and then they let me in. They let me in to let me know where I was, and I was unwelcomed. Next one. So the whole night, the entire night, I am deep in psychic battle with some Dark Lord wizards. And it was so intense. And I was so scared. I was paralyzed in fear. So I drew a bath, and I threw some salt, I lit some candles, and I went into the bath, and I soaked in the bath for like 8 hours. Even when I had to pee, I peed in the bath. And I stood there because I needed to return to the womb. I needed to return to the place of no thing. I needed some deep healing. I needed some protection. I was dealing with some deep shit, and I didn't know how to handle it. So there I was in having this intense process, and I was, having to do this psychic mental judo, this battle. But it was complicated because it was battling myself, aspects within myself, fractured aspects within my programming. It wasn't that I was actually battling these things, it was me, but it was black magic trying to use my mind against me. And I fucking won through every single battle, and as I kept winning, there would be like a seal that had been attached to me that would break free, and then break free, all the way to the point where I freed a fractured part of myself. It was an angelic part of my soul that they ripped out of me when I was young, when they put me in the trip chair, because I am an angelic being, and this angelic being that I freed in another pocket dimension just was freed and released and flew into me. And then finally, after hours of soaking, I was able to get up. I was able to get up and get out of the bath. And I could see myself in the mirror, just covered in feathers, just these big, magnificent black feathers with huge black wings. And I knew what was happening. It was another part of me that was with me, that was returning to me. And I knew what I needed to do in that moment as I activated that part of myself. And I needed to go into the forest, under the ground, and bring lots of light and healing to the children, and to clear that space to the innocent bloodshedding and the sacrifice and the rituals that has been happening for years on the territory of the sleeping dragon, distorting and perverting and vandalizing the energies of the grid on that area. And that was my mission there. And I did that. The next day, bro, meet me at the waterfall the next day, bro.
It's the phone behind me.
So the next day, Alex meets me at the waterfall. Go back. And I tell him everything that happened. And we're saying goodbyes. I'm getting ready to drive back down to California. And he's all like, oh wait, by the way, were you like walking around my neighborhood, knocking on people's doors, asking if you can come into their house to give them a blessing? And I was like, no, I'm not fucking weird and stupid like that. I would never do that. Why do you ask? And he's like, well, last night, while you were in your hotel room, I was on Nextdoor, which is like a social media app for your neighbors. He was like, I was on Nextdoor and people were talking about you. And remember, in the room, I was like, what's going on? People are talking about me, they're triangulating me, they're on the internet, I'm picking up on the frequencies, this is happening. Holy shit. And I want to read to you what the post is. Transient reported to deputies in our area, and they put in parentheses, osprey, which is a hawk. Knocked on our door at 9:30 last night. No, I didn't. Mentioned he lived 2 houses down. No, I don't. Also tried to talk with our children. I was saving the children. The deputies know exactly who it is and will be patrolling, unable to locate last night. Stay vigilant and safe, Ludlow friends. Person 1, dark-haired ponytail with a white ball cap. I didn't have a white ball cap, but I'm a white hat. Wearing a white tank top. I was wearing a white tank top. Maroon man, year 1990. My band was out in 1990, but I was born in the year 1990. And then somebody comments, thank you for the heads up. And she says, sounds like he was at the bank casing on Saturday, which I know what she's talking about. I was parked at a bank waiting for my friend to let me know when to come over, and there was a man that was watching me the entire time. Thank you. Did he give a reason for knocking at the door? He said he lived 2 houses down and wanted to give us his blessing, not at 9:30 at night. So, as I mentioned at the very beginning, I'm not fucking crazy, and I'm not stupid. This shit's really happening. So, the third card.
Wait.
Yeah.
What exactly was that?
So I was in a hotel room, right? And in the hotel room, I took 2 grams of mushrooms and was like, what is this? I don't feel right. What's going on? And then it came to me. I understood. I'm being watched. I'm being watched by multiple people, and they're talking about me right now. They're targeting me right now. Holy shit. And when I made those connections, then the gatekeepers there allowed me to go in to let me know that I was not welcome. And that initiated the battle between in this black magic. So throughout the night, I was in the shit. Well,
In your bathtub.
in the bathtub,
Right.
while people were legit making lies up about me and classifying me bird tribe, osprey, white hat. And this dude saw it.
That's my town.
That guy.
Yeah.
Did you live 2 doors down?
No, but I took those screenshots because I'm on next door, and I'm like, Mario, are you on shrooms? Like, like, I was like, is this you? And it's a white tank top, maroon van. He has the only maroon van. And also, when we checked him into the hotel, I live in a weird place, not even a real town.
No, I've been there. I spent a lot of time there. There's a massive dark energy underneath.
Okay, thank you. It's a town of like intelligence spooks. It's next to a naval facility with armaments.
And recently, Netflix has come
Yeah.
out with a new series called The Dead Boy Detectives, which takes place in Fort Townsend, the same area of the Dragon. And in the first Dead Boy Detectives, and in the show, the show takes place in this area, and the main adversary is a witch, an old witch who knows how to stay young because she keeps a giant snake in the basement of her home that she feeds children to. Yeah. So the third card that hit me, the woman, Diana, she gave me a ride to the emergency room and sat with me for a moment. And then she took off. And I'm sitting, I just got hit by a car for the 3rd time. Her name was Diana, so I was in this weird psychosis of like not being able to understand the disruption in the pattern, you know? And so I'm in this emergency room, go to the next one, and I'm sitting in the lobby of this emergency room, and here comes this doctor just walking from far away, like further than where that door is. And he's just walking, talking over all the people there, and he's all like, Mr. Mijares, we're sorry about what happened to you today, but I'm going to pull up your reports and update your vaccinations. And I'm just like overwhelmed. I'm not really, I don't understand what's happening. And I just was just like, why is he talking to me over all these people in here, just talking about my records and updating my, and so while he's doing that, this fucking ninja nurse comes out of nowhere and puts a needle in my arm and injects me. No warning, no hi, hello, here's what we're going to give you today. Blah, 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 I'm sorry, no, she just came out of nowhere, shoot, and then left. And then when she did that, he was like, okay, all done, and then leaves. And then I sat there for like another 30 minutes until the usual process of somebody calling you in and putting you into a room. What happened? Did you hit your head? Are you okay? So that happened. Oh, go back again. So the reason why that detail of the 3rd card hit me is later on in the slide is because that's a detail that I forgot the moment after it happened. And so, you know, I didn't remember that was something that happened until a few years ago. So even till to this day, there are certain details throughout all of the things I experienced in my whole life that are coming back. So that's why in the beginning of my presentation, I'm like, the truth is, I'm still trying to remember, but this shit is real. You know, I don't have my memories like Tony and all the other folks, you know, but part of my intention is to share the experience at this point where I'm at, because what I went through, what I was going through was so maddening that I wanted to die. I wanted to kill myself a number of different times. So I really hope that this helps people. Go next. So over the last few years, there's been some people that I have been working with to help me. This is Kim Lusana and William Nutter, aka Johann Fritz. They're both super soldier veterans, and these are 2 people that I have personally worked with to help me process things. Especially Kim. Kim is a remote viewer, super soldier, She is a part of the, she's done a lot of work in the Umbrella Corporation, so she has helped me put a lot of things together. I haven't gone through a QHHT session. I'm like low-key not ready for it, but this is where I'm at. Johan has also helped me with some things. The first time I ever met him in person, there was just this thing that happened where I just knew we were connected. So to wrap it all up, we're going to wrap it up so we can engage for some Q&A and talking. So what happened to me? What programs was I in? What do I actually remember? After years of doing inner work, I have uncovered that I am a Gen 7 trauma-based MK Pegasus super soldier. So I was first targeted and experimented on at age 2 and then recruited at age 5 years old. So from age 5, armor weapons and resilience training began. From age 8 to 12, squad training. From age 12 to 18, super soldier training began. And when I was 12, I had kidney stones, which is unusual for a child to have. And when I was 18, I had the shingles, which is also unusual for a child to have. And those things are connected to what was happening to me and these weird anomalies. So there are a lot of mind control programs in place to make it very difficult for me to remember and focus. So altars, currently active, 20 MX, off and on planet. So through dreams and memory bleed-throughs, and with the help of other people, Kim and Will, I've been slowly uncovering what has happened to me with tenacious discernment and patience. I'm in no hurry. I already know this happened. I'm in no hurry to know all the details. And the reason why the picture of this dog is here is because during those ages of 8 to 12 years old, one of the trainings that they put me through was in this room of, there's different stages of it, but this first came to me in a dream where I was on a military campus somewhere, and somebody came to me and said, get ready for your dog fight. And I was like, dog fight? And so then they took me underground, and there was a genetically modified pit bull that I had to fight. And as a child, in my waking state, I was terrified of pit bulls. It was one of the things I was mostly afraid of because they were everywhere in Los Angeles with ghetto gangsters fucking making them ferocious and scary. So that was part of the things that they needed me to overcome within my personality. And I remember I fought the dog and I killed the dog. Next. So I take this very serious. There are a lot of things that I'm not going to share, things about altars that I know of and what they're doing. All the different dreams and different memories that I've received, because I'm still processing it. And I'm still healing. And what I want more is, to be happy, to have a life, to utilize what my God-given talents are. So I want to focus more on creating and not tearing myself even more to go back into the past. I know that it happened and that it's real, but I'm on a more powerful divine mission. We all are. So that's what I choose to focus on more. So some of the things that used to happen to me growing up when I was between the ages of 17 and 18 years old, and you can ask my friends that I grew up with at this time, that we would be kicking it, right? Walking, smoking weed, just being young, and all of a sudden I would just like an altar would kick in, and I would act as if I was in a battlefield somewhere, and I'd be like, get down, and I would jump, and I would, and that would happen a lot. And another thing that would happen during that same time is every time I would see a red door, I would just say, red door, red door, red door, and I never understood it. It was just something that happened during those times. I had no idea, but it's connected to this shit. However, I will share about one altar named Yosef Yannick. So Yosef Yannick served 5 years in Kruger, ended in 2016, the year I had the stroke. Then transferred to Dark Shield and was part of Nakwafen for 1 year, began as an infantry soldier and rose to the ranks. Then assigned to USS Ramstein, which ended in 2018, the year I found the brain tumors. Then promoted to sergeant and transferred to the USS Patton. On the Patton was part of special operations infantry group called Wolfpack. Then promoted to first sergeant aboard the Patton and shortly promoted to lieutenant In 2020, transferred to USS Franklin under the command of Johann Fritz, so that's why we have that connection. And 2020 was the year I met him in person. He is currently, so this alter of mine is currently a company commander and is still aboard and active. That sums up my story. So as you have now learned, I've gone through a very hard life. Targeting for me has been undeniably obvious throughout my entire life. I'm not here to be cool. This is not a trend that I'm trying to hop on. And I'm not a liar. My family history has some unusual relations with the Rothschilds, and my mother's genetics are related to prominent historical figures. I had to fight like hell to survive everything and to make it here safely. By so many miracles, I'm alive, and I'm here, and I'm thriving. We got 15 minutes for questions.
Do you guys know that there's a Rothschild House Museum in Port Townsend?
Oh
There's
shit, no, I
even a
didn't.
public gardens named the Rothschild's Gardens.
I had no
And
idea.
there's children and fountains and it's like
Weird.
I didn't know that.
I didn't know.
Port Townsend. Right next to Port Townsend.
Yeah, question here. I mean, in several of the other lectures I've heard this week, like a couple, like 2 or 3 of them or so, some have said that like people, speakers who came, said they were gay ultra victims. They said that their family, like maybe grandparents or parents, were practicing like dark occult rituals. And so your mom has a relationship with the Rothschilds. I mean, do you have suspect or know that maybe someone in your family, like grandparents or something, was practicing dark occult rituals?
Yeah, that's definitely suspected. However, I don't know how I can confirm that. My grandfather is dead. My mother was adopted, and she doesn't know who her biological parents are. And the fact that she was given up for adoption and grew up next to another Rothschild, born the day before, the day after. There were 2 houses side by side, and they were identical in their design, and they grew up together. So adoption right next door to somebody, this and that. There's a lot of things that I don't know, but with that information alone, really makes you wonder, right? And I'm not going to insert what I want it to be and make up a story. Yeah.
And adoption is a thing with them too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, getting something like shingles, that's something for elderly people.
Yeah.
And sometimes, I guess when people in programs like to do 20-year life, I wonder, do you see physically your body is in a state that is much older than it should be?
Yes. Yeah. It is. I mean.
Like your joints, your like
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I notice myself and other people who have it's like people look at you like you can't even be this age, like physically you're not.
Yeah. Yes. There's a lot. So 18 years old was when I had the shingles, and that was also when all my super soldier training on Earth ended, and I was sent with alters doing other things.
Right.
So.
Did they say anything about like do doctors look at you and make a complaint like what are you gonna do when you're 60
No. They would joke around and be like, "What are you, 80 years old? You got a kidney stone. You have shingles."
I had cataracts.
That's crazy. You had a question too, right?
I do. Not even a question, more of something I recognized in your story, or in your experience that I wrote it down and jotted down real quick. But you have a very strong connection to spiders, and they seem to be a conduit to a tether to these different webs that you're experiencing in your life. And when you said the Black Widow, I was like, I knew something. I had to look it up to make sure that what I was thinking was what I was remembering. And you also mentioned different changes in your body that almost made you more feminine,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
So the Black Widow signifies untapped feminine power.
Wow.
And I saw that connection And I had to Google it this and I'm like, am I wrong in what I'm thinking?
Yeah,
I had to go and double check.
Yeah.
And the need for transformation. Also, the Black Widow itself is a protector of the home involving spirit. The Black Widow is toxic, can also represent toxic, destructive elements in your life. And so with you hopping these different lines and parallel universes, every time you see a spider that's warning you about something that's projecting into you that you're able to document in a timely fashion before it happens, remote viewing, you're a remote viewer, that you're able to document in time as it's happening. That correlation to the spider is interesting. Also, the spider in general, outside of the Black Widow, I tell my mom too, spiders keep making this intricate web in front of her door and she can't stand it. And I'm like, all the animals are trying to talk to you. She's got birds making nests. Like all things, I'm like, Mom, they're all trying to talk to you. And so with you, the spider, I kept seeing, I closed my eyes. And I kept seeing like this, it looked like what do you call it? Are they legs?
Yeah.
Okay. I was about to call them talons, but it's like you have the legs that would sit here and almost wrap around your head like this as a what is that metal hat called?
Like from Magneto?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would do that to you. Like I visualized it. It was sitting on top of your head as you were talking.
Yeah, I feel it every time I'm sitting on the toilet.
So I'm not tripping?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is resonating. So this is resonating.
Yeah, it is. Every time I'm on the toilet, she's right there.
And it comes up.
All her legs.
Yeah.
Here.
And she wraps around you, and it's almost like a cocoon.
Yeah.
Of protection.
Wow.
A cocoon of your creativity. You're an artist. You draw. It's a cocoon of how you can use that to predict the future. How you can use that to move back in time to the past and reoccur it. I keep seeing, this is what was happening while you were talking. I don't know if you saw me spazzing out the whole time I was sitting here, but I was definitely spazzing out and I was like, oh shit. And it was like this figure 8 coil, I call them coils, most people call them spirals, a spiral that fanned out, big at the top and went down and it would come out of you. And you have multiple arms. I can see them shadowing you. You have multiple arms. You're on a spider. That spider is your spirit and your highest self, your highest power. That spider represents what's the word? I'm not good with words. I can't read and I'm a little dyslexic. So somebody correct me if I'm wrong in this word, but it's like virility?
Veracity?
That's the word, thank you. The spider is like that for you, becoming who you are. And like something told me that you needed to know. I heard you say, I checked out, so I don't, correct me if I'm wrong, I kind of left for a second. But I heard you say something along the lines of you're still like coming to grips with all these things, right? This is kind of these are new prophecies for you, new experiences. That spider's going to connect you to those experiences like a USB to a computer. And you're going to receive a lot of downloads. So if I keep seeing something coming out of your belly button, which is a very feminine thing. So tap into that divine feminine power within you because that's important. You're supposed to be working at night.
Yes. That's been confirmed. It's at night. We're always like, hello, are you ready?
Right, go outside.
I'm like, oh, I'm tired.
Right, I'm going to sleep. That's the divine feminine. That shows how balanced you are.
Yeah.
You're very balanced, and you just need to regain some of that harmony within you. And there's something connected to your belly button. I'm seeing a string. Obviously, it makes sense now that I'm putting this together. There's a web, but I'm seeing this string coming from you, emitting and then spitting out. And then each one of those things that is spit out, they kind of are crossing, making this grid, this pattern in front of you.
Yeah, you're seeing the drawing that I did.
Oh,
which
shit.
is exactly that. Yeah. All these timelines in the spider web, and then the spider, and me sitting on my desk like this. I am exhausted of all of this.
You learn to embrace it inward, it'll energize you.
Thank you.
You won't be exhausted.
Thank you. And I'm working my way on coming back to that because I'm
It's
I'm
exhausting.
still hungover
Right.
from getting zapped in the back and having a induced stroke and recovering from brain tumors. There's still a part of me that's like a veteran that's been in war, and I'm just kind of like, shit.
I'm gonna leave you for this, because I know other people want to ask questions. These are just things that are like screaming at me, and I'm like, if I don't say it, I'm gonna pop open, so I'll just share it for a second. Yeah, I don't want to do that. But you can tell them you're the, in fact, he stands for this. You're the creator of your own reality.
Yeah.
So when you start to gain knowledge, it's for everybody in the room. It's really loud. When you start to gain knowledge, grab a hold of it and take control of it. Pressurize it before it pressurizes you. It's easier said than done. But you can tell them, hey, you don't have to hurt me to give me these messages. Stop.
Yeah, after the bicycles, after arriving in South Dakota, that's when I was like, okay, current team fired, new team.
No more. This is my barrier, spirit.
Yeah.
ETs or whomever is working with me, this is my barrier, this is my boundary.
Yeah.
Do not cross it.
Yeah.
And you have to be that firm.
I'm coming into that.
You will
Definitely.
be. I'll
Thank you.
push some energy towards you in that
I
space.
appreciate
I'm in
that.
business.
Yes. Is there any other questions? Yes?
Once this all became real to you and kind of like went off the deep end, it's like, this is legit, this is actually happening. Did you face like confusion in your life? Or you were like, where do I go?
So after reaching that point, I just put it all down. I said, okay, this is enough for now. Let me focus on something else. Like, this isn't going anywhere. I need to walk away. I need to go into nature. I need to pray. I need to meditate. I need to lift some weights. I need to have a beer, make love to my wife, watch a television show. Like, it's okay. This doesn't need to be my obsession 24 hours of the day. So that's, I come back to it at spouts.
Like after you had that rest period, then you don't take action and you find
Yeah. So this conference was when I started to come back around to it. So I was, there's not a lot of people that know this about me because I keep it separate. But I was invited to speak at this conference if I wanted to, and that was an invitation. So that's when I knew, okay, it's time to start putting it together and share it. Will I share this again at another conference? I don't know. I don't know if I need to. I don't know if I want to. But I've done it this one time. And thank you all for listening to it.
I'm definitely glad you can share, especially at this time, this exact place, so that you can receive. Is it yours? Yeah, so that you can receive her message.
Yes.
And just like she was saying, what I've learned now is to ask for my lessons with grace and ease. You can teach me with grace and ease. So we always ask for our greatest and highest good, but sometimes the greatest and highest good is rapid pace, it's real bumpy, it's real rough. And so you want to receive all your lessons with that grace and ease. Another thing that she said about you is that you're really balanced, but more so, right? You're really balanced in your masculine and feminine. And have you dealt with the fact that you began to have memory glands? That, like, have you dealt with that emotionally? Like, does it bother you?
Oh yeah. So when I was going through this stuff, right, testosterone levels, none. So for a period, I was impotent. I couldn't get an erection, right? So as a masculine, that was tearing me apart even more. Like, what am I as a man? And I was in a relationship. I couldn't, satisfy her. So that was hard, but it pushed me to go deeper because I realized you don't really love yourself. If you think this is what being a man is, you're not there. And so it pushed me to go deeper. And yeah, I would get like itchy nipples and things like that. And I just want to also add before I forget, is that my doctor described that my levels of prolactin were at numbers that they only see in severe postpartum depression.
Sounds like you have some wound healing you need to do with maybe a mother Are you adopted?
No,
Okay, I heard adopted.
my mother was
I was
adopted, yeah.
checking in and out because I kept getting downloads. But it sounds like you need to have some wound trauma healing from what she's saying.
Yeah.
That's definitely possible, but had you ever looked at the Native American culture, they have a special place for non-binary, transgender, or
Oh yeah, two-spirited.
a two-spirit. And
Yeah.
so had you looked into maybe having that role, like is something
No.
that's been assigned to you?
Nope.
It would be because I would think too that how
Kind of a stoner.
we did if that was the classification for them at that time, they weren't having an operation to become a two-spirit, right?
Right.
This was something that
It was an initiation, yeah.
part of your DNA that caused you to be this thing.
Wow, yeah, I never thought about that. Yes.
We walked in late and we heard you guys discussing spiders. Her oldest daughter has constant spiders in her dreams. Any insight on that?
No, I don't.
No.
I wish you were here earlier because we would have known the correlation of the spider in my dream. But she could probably help you through her remote viewing. But there's a lot of things about spiders, and I've gone through a lot of different rabbit holes of like, okay, am I just experiencing a traumatic experience fighting giant spiders on Mars, or is it a demon trying to trick me, or so I've gone through a lot of different avenues of trying to understand. And one thing I've learned in my journey going through all of this crazy stuff, right? Because at first at first it was like these things were happening to me, and I was confused and no answers. So I was approaching anyone and everybody. This happened to me. Could you tell me what it means? I had this dream. Could you tell me what it means? I had this vision. Could you tell me what it means? And so what I've learned is that I'm the one that needs to figure out what it means for me. And if I continuously open myself up to receive from somebody that I don't know, it could be the wrong thing, and it could be even harmful. So it's confusing. So it's important to honor what you experience privately, and to allow yourself to develop the processes on how to discern this kind of information, and trusting your ability to discern. And so one of my protocols is time tells the tallest tales to truth. So anytime I got myself wrapped up in obsessing on wanting to know, I tell myself, oh, this is a movie. And like every movie, it has to play out. So even though I might not know this detail now, time is telling the tall tale to truth. And that would allow me to just relax about all the things. So I hope that helps.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Thank you. So you can find me. My website is starseedsalsa.com. Yes, not like the food. So on my website, I sell salsa with medicinal mushrooms in there, not psilocybin. On my website, you can book a reading for a hypnotic session, hypnosis. I'm a certified clinical hypnotherapist. Or you can book an astrology reading. Astrology is my passion. I've been doing it nearly every day for the last 17 years. So I would love to work with you guys. I also have a podcast. This is my co-host, Alex. You can find our podcast on everywhere, YouTube, Rumble, Twitter. And the name of our podcast is Unscripted Liberation Codes. And so I encourage you to go to my YouTube and watch some videos that are going to have more information on some of the things I mentioned. Like the dream about Leonardo DiCaprio and all that sort of stuff. I really invite you guys to watch that video because it's gonna blow your minds. Let's see, what else? Am I forgetting anything? Well, this has been an amazing conference, amazing last few days. I was able to connect with so many of you guys privately. Thank you so much. This is a very important movement. And that's all I have to say.